All right, good morning, everybody. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could ask our sheriff to say the pledge for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Smith, will you open in prayer?
Our Heavenly Father, as we come to you just now, we thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to gather together. We thank you for all these folks that have come out and have their opinion that they want to voice. Lord, we'd ask that you would help us to do it in an orderly manner, that we would be able to listen and take in each thing and consider each thing as we make the decisions of what we think is best for the county. Lord, we thank you for each one that's here. We ask that you watch over us, take care of us, guide us. We ask these things in your precious name, and amen.
Amen. You can be seated. Thank you. All right, we're going to jump back into our normal process. I know last week we kind of moved everything around, but we'll work through our agenda and then we'll get to our public comments. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 12th.
I'll make the motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of request for appropriation of funds,
Any comments or questions on the appropriations? Hearing none.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of request for appropriation, transfer of funds,
Any comments or questions on the transfers?
Make a motion, we approve the transfers.
Second. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I'll second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of approving payment of the regular schedule of accounts for various funds, moral obligations, and then and now certificates in the total amount of $3,772,150.51.
Any comments or questions on item 4?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of accepting miscellaneous reports,
Any comments on questions on the miscellaneous reports we received?
I make a motion, we accept those reports.
I second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of demolition residential structures for the safety and health of the community regarding Scioto County Land Reutilization Corporation.
All right, we have a list of partials here. The Scioto County Commissioners recognize the residential structures listed below, and we have a copy here for your review. As vacant, blighted, unsafe, substandard, and recommend with the owner's consent that the Scioto County Land Utilization Corporation demolish the structures with funds from the Ohio Department of Development Building Demolition and Site Revitalization Grant 2025 for the safety and health of the community. So we have to certify these as blighted, vacant properties. The way the grant currently works is that the owners can actually give the land bank the authority to then go on and remediate these structures through some grant funding. Any comments or questions on item 6?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of appointment to the Scioto County Planning Commission, and that's reappointment, sorry about that.
All right, so we have some reappointments to the Planning Commission. All the terms ended June 10th, 25. The following wish to be reappointed: Mr. Tony Dangus with a new term June 10, 2026. Mr. Matt Reiser, whose term ending June 10th, 2027. Mr. Ethan Nelson, whose new term will end June 10th, 2026. And our engineer Darren LeBron, whose term will end June 10th, 2028. And our sanitary engineer, J.P. Picklesheimer, whose term will end on June 10th, 2028. There is a vacant spot on the board currently that we'll need to consider at a later date, which end date of June 10th, 2027. The Planning Commission handles some of the standards around when you see communities built, you'll see the Planning Commission handle if we're separating properties, combining properties. It's something that meets, I mean, quite frankly, they meet probably 3 times a year to review these properties and some of the concerns around planning. Any comments or questions on the appointments?
I will make a motion, we approve the reappointments.
I will second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of emergency response plan for Scioto County wastewater collection treatment system,
Any comments or questions on our emergency response plan for the wastewater collection system?
I make the motion to approve.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of procurement and ADA policy update regarding ASC.
We had a letter from ASC, Federal Transit Administration, has raised the financial threshold for micro purchases from $10,000 to $15,000. So this would be updating their policy to do the same. Any comments or questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the policy.
I'll second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of accepting 2025 inventories,
We have even more inventories from all of our office holders. It's something we do every year where we're just taking inventory of the different equipment, desks, computers, whatever they have in their office, so we can keep track of government property. Any comments or questions?
I make the motion to accept.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of accepting miscellaneous board minutes,
So there's multiple boards that we appoint to, Visitors Bureau Board, Water Conservation, this is the Library Board. They submit their meeting minutes to us, just for review, and then we keep it for the record. Any comments or questions?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of access Sauter County quarterly capital maintenance operating invoices and certifications,
So this is for the ASC invoice and certifications for second quarter of 2026. Capital maintenance, $3,222. Quarterly invoice, $111,279. Charter service, none. Incidental use certification, none. Any comments or questions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
In the matter of resolution honoring the New Boston Fire Chief, firefighters, and staff in the New Boston Village, Scioto County, Ohio.
I will turn this item over to Commissioner Smith.
Yes, during the time in New Boston when the Buckeye Towers elevator was out, which we took a lot of grief on, and so did a lot of other people, that elevator is back working now. So, you know, that's, but there were some people that stepped up and did just really an excellent job. This is probably, since I've been on the board, this is my favorite thing to do, is give resolutions to people recognizing things that they've done well. And I'm going to read the resolution, and then we'll vote on whether or not to accept this resolution or adopt this resolution. But it says, whereas on October 18, 2025, Buckeye Towers Senior Living in New Boston, Ohio experienced an outage of their only working elevator. And there are 8 floors with seniors over the age of 62. And when the outage occurred with the elevator, it left these seniors with no way to leave their apartments for doctor's appointments, church, seeing loved ones, or even holidays. And whereas the New Boston Chief Chris Davis and his firefighters and staff responded to the call in need of help to transport residents up and down stairs, and with 8 floors to travel, it did not stop the New Boston Fire Department from carrying every resident that needed it to come down and back up again when they returned. And whereas being a first responder, they never know from one day to the next what their job may consist of, but whatever it is, they've shown the commitment to get it done. Now, therefore, we, the Scioto County Commissioners, do hereby honor and thank the New Boston firefighters, chief, and staff for their service and commitment to the Buckeye Tower residents in the New Boston Village. It is this kind of commitment that make us proud of our community and those who live there. And with that, I would make a motion that we adopt this resolution.
Honored to second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Malt?
Aye.
Mr. Powell?
Aye. And with us today, we do have their fire chief. Come on up. Come on over here. Come on up here.
And on behalf of the Scioto County Commissioners, we'd like to present to you this resolution honoring you and your staff. And I know that during this time, I came up early on and talked to you guys about what was going on. We walked through a lot of that stuff, and you guys have gone above and beyond to do the work that you need to do for the residents of New Boston and Buckeye Towers, so we'd like to present you with this resolution.
And Amanda's gonna take your picture.
Back here.
She can't get out, she's stuck.
Got it.
Now, I did tell him everybody showed up for him, so once again, give him a round of applause. All right.
In the matter of accepting amended certificate from the Budget Commission,
Any comments or questions on the amended certificate?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Malt,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye.
In the matter of authorizing the clerk to advertise requests for proposals for managed information technology services regarding the courthouse.
So last year, we canceled our standing contract, and it's not because of service, it was because the contract was really an interim contract that we just kept kind of limping along on. So what we're looking for specifically for IT services, managed information technology services for the courthouse, because that is an outsourced service, is a different contract that's more a standard base rate. That kind of allows us to better budget and understand the cost associated with this service. So this vote is just authorizing our clerk to put this RFP out into the community for consideration. We will open the bids February 12th, 2026. They are due by 10 o'clock that day. Any comments or questions?
I will make a motion that we approve the request.
I will second.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Malt,
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Aye.
In the matter of resolution determining the necessity of the submission to the electors of the question of levying a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation.
This is for our senior citizen tax levy. This is a renewal?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what everybody's already been paying based on the rate it was when it was passed. It is not a replacement based on new values, correct? Okay. Any comments or questions?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I will second.
Mr. Malt,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Powell.
Hi. That is the end of our agenda. At this point, we do shift to public comments. If you haven't been here before, our public comments are a little different. And I'd like to keep them that way as long as we can stay civil. So normally if you go anywhere else, typically you get to stand up, you talk for 5 minutes, they say thank you, and then you sit down and there's really no back and forth, there's really no conversation. This board is a little different and where we will entertain questions. All I ask, I know a lot of people will probably have likely similar questions. If we can, there's only certain ways we can answer the same question. So just kind of pay attention to the speakers prior to you. Before we get to that, I don't know if, I'll actually ask our commissioners if you have any additional thoughts over the past week. Commissioner Malt, anything regarding this? I'm guessing everybody's here for the data center conversation, yeah?
I
Any
just
additional thoughts?
want to thank everybody for tuning in today and watching, and I want to thank everybody for being here today, and I appreciate your comments.
All right, Commissioner Smith.
As we go through this thing, we're going to hear a lot of different comments, a lot of different thoughts, and people are digging in deeper to try to find things out and get into things and know what's going on. And as I stated the last time, I was asked directly, do you intend to vote for this levy? And I said, unless something major changes, and everybody's working on finding that major thing to change. And so far, I don't know that I've seen that major thing, but it's still there, and that's why we're listening to people to try to find out if there's anything major that changes in this process.
All right, thank you for that. I'll share a little different thought. So this past week, my personal cell phone was shared online, which it's fine. Like that phone number has been with me for 24 years. Just so you know, if you care enough to track it down and call me, I typically don't answer numbers I don't know. But if you do leave a good message and you tell me what you're interested in, sometimes I'll call back. Also keep in mind this phone number is also used to interact with all of my staff that are taking care of hospice patients across the state of Ohio. But it got me thinking. I've had this number since I was probably for 24 years, 25 years. And it's when I left Scioto County to go to Columbus to college, and I swore that I would never come back. That's true. There's nothing happening here. Why would I stay here? And as I look out here and I see a lot of people with kids in the community, we hear this time and time again, there's nothing here, right? But it got me thinking, in the last 24, 25 years, what major development in this community can we point to? What has happened in Scioto County that has made a significant difference? I know we built a bypass, so we bypassed Portsmouth. I mean, if you want to count that as a major development, it was a big development for the road system. The best I could come up with was the Haverhill Coke plant that happened down at Haverhill, and I want to speak about that a little bit to kind of draw parallels between what happened then and what we're considering today. The Haverhill Coke plant, there was a tax abatement, 100% tax abatement for that project for 10 years. They promised 67 jobs back then. They did do a payment in lieu of taxes back then of $150,000. And the school district specifically of that 150 got $87,000. And then it breaks down from there, however, the percentages, your taxes get dispersed on the percentages. So that's what happened back in 2003 is the last major development I could find in this county. So what we're considering, and we mentioned this last week, we are not determining whether or not a data center comes into Scioto County. That's not in our purview. We're not determining if there's zoning up there. That is not in our purview. We're not determining if there's permits. That's also not in our purview. All we're considering is, do we want to incentivize a company to invest here in Scioto County? So I know we didn't get a lot into the numbers, and if you don't care about numbers, it's going to get really nerdy real quick. I'm a numbers person. The CRA that we can speak to mentions $1 billion investment. It mentions 50+ jobs. It mentions engaging with our local union. And then it mentions the dollar amount. And I want to spend a little bit of time on the dollar amount specifically. The numbers I'm going to share with you are estimates. An auditor hasn't touched it yet, but it did help us in our decision making. So right now everybody hears it's a 75% abatement, correct? Because that's how the document's read. The piece of that is also important is the pilot. So that first deployment, if there was no taxes abated, roughly, and once again, I'm putting every asterisk on this that I can, because once again, I'm not an auditor. We haven't seen anything built, like things happen. If the first phase is built, it's $2 million a year in taxes for that property, for the enhancement. That's not counting the land. The school will still receive all of the taxes that's included on that land. So this is the improvement value of that property. So what does that mean? Well, we know that there's a pilot of $500,000. And if we already know that it's potentially a $2 million tax, then we know that 25% is $500,000 as well, right? So if you take that, the 25% gets divided out to all the political subdivisions that would typically get property tax. That's your school district, that's VOTEC, that's DD, that's CPS, the township, and whatever that percentage is what they get. School districts get 60, I don't want to butcher it, it's in the 60%. So they'll get that immediately out of $500,000. You just heard me say that we gave a payment in lieu of taxes well over 20 years ago where the school got $87,000 on that deal. This deal alone, they'll get just on the first phase, not counting the pilot, several $100,000. Now, we haven't even decided what to do with the $500,000 pilot. It'll get divided similarly, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Where the project gets interesting, and part of my calculation is, once again, we can talk to phase one of 500,000 square feet. The question is, how many phases are potential for this site? So if it's 2 phases, the local community will get $1 million in taxes. The pilot will go to $900,000. If it's 3 phases, the local community will get $1.5 million in taxes, and the pilot will be over $1 million as well. It'll be 1.3 million, and so on and so forth. The taxes jump by about $500,000 for every new deployment. And I wanted to spell that out because, we're talking about why would we give something away, right? Why are we giving something away to such a big entity? Well, the question is, do we want to be competitive to ensure they build out the whole thing, or do we want them to build elsewhere? There's a current belief that these big corporations only come into Appalachia and they only take advantage of our community, right? We've heard that? People have probably posted that? Okay, there's 200 data centers in the state of Ohio. 150 of them sit in Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. That's not Appalachia. It's actually quite the opposite. This industry has historically passed us over.
What about out of Ohio State,
What do you mean out of Ohio State?
encompassing all of Appalachia?
You can look it up. It's a data center map, and it tells you where all the data centers are. So, but between those areas, it's 150 data centers. The unions can probably speak to this more because they're actually sending their members further away. What's the closest location we've ever worked on? Jeffersonville. Okay, so that's still a haul from here. So once again, that's part of the thought process. I know it probably doesn't change a lot of minds, but I kind of wanted to flesh that out a little bit when we're starting talking about taxes and really what does it mean for Green Local. If this thing gets up to 5-6 deployments, it's millions and millions of dollars for Green Local and for the township. The county gets very little of the property tax. Just so, I know a lot of people think, well, the county wants this because we'll offset the budget. Property taxes, it's a very small percent that actually hits the county. It actually lives with the school districts mostly, the townships, the fire departments, things like that. So I wanted to share that as part of the thought process. And once again, when I think back that we have not had any major development in well over 20 years, the question is why? That's the question I ask. Why is that?
All of our environmental resources have been used up by the A plant and all these chemical companies.
Potentially, or historically.
When I go to Washington DC,
I'll-
I hear about it.
We'll let you have comments in just a second. But historically, everybody passes over Appalachia. And now that they're actually looking at us, are we going to be the ones to say, yeah, we don't want this either? So that's what we're balancing. That's why we're listening. Once again, Merritt said if we hear anything substantial, we'll kind of, it could change our mind one way or the other. All we're determining is if it's a property tax, period. All the other stuff, whether or not they're here or not, quite frankly, we don't determine any of that. So at this point,
One other thing, talking about property taxes.
yeah,
I went down and I pulled all the information from the auditor's office to see what's being paid on that property right now. And there's $175,000 a year paid on that property right now. So that $175,000 will continue up until, there won't be a 75% reduction of that. That will continue up until there is building on that site. Once the building's on that site, as Scotty said, the estimated amount of taxes you would get would be $500,000. So you're going from $175,000 that you're getting on that property setting the way it is up to $500,000 once there's a building on it. So yes, if we were keeping 100% of it, there would be a lot more taxes come in from it. But we also would not have a say in any of the stuff that we've got a seat at the table right now to talk a little bit about, like the union situation. We had a seat at the table to say, hey, we want to have that. We want that in the language. And we would not have had that without negotiating through the pilot. So I just wanted you to know where the tax sits right now, what you're getting on that property, and what would come in even at a 75% reduction of that. So.
all right. With that, we'll open a comment. just say who you are, and we'll jump right in. And we'll
Thank you. My name is Lori Swain, and I'm from Portsmouth, and I've got 3 points to make. Last week, all 3 commissioners stated, as Mr. Smith just indicated, that if they were to vote right then, they would vote yes on the 75% tax abatement. You implied that you had spent months, you had been so impressed, you had spent months interacting with this big tech company, but you had not even spent 1 hour interacting with your constituents, with the community that is going to be most impacted by the outcome of this proposed data center. There's not even been 1 public meeting that grapples with the thousands of independent studies that look at the health and environmental and financial outcomes from these data centers everywhere. Independent studies, thousands of them. Not 1 tiny acknowledgement from the 3 of you about those negative outcomes. Point 2, call me naive about this pilot, this payment in lieu of taxes, but it seems like a crazy scheme. I can understand it for nonprofits that aren't normally taxed. In order to be fair to a community, not big nonprofits will come up with a pilot. But this big tech company is not a nonprofit, so why not just charge them 100% of their taxes like the rest of us are charged? Is it that this pilot influences you because it's not a clear distribution of the money collected like we see on our tax bills? We know exactly what's going to the schools, exactly to the libraries, exactly to the disability departments. We know that, but it's not even clear. Scotty, you just mentioned that that's to be decided later on. Lastly, Microsoft President Brad Smith recently, just the other day, stated that tax abatements are not the reasons these data centers come to communities. It is the power lines, the water availability, and compliant communities, not tax abatements. And big Microsoft said they will not even accept or ask for a tax abatement. You've indicated that not only the company that you've been working with, but others waiting in the wings, chomping at the bit to put a data center here are there. So why this tax abatement? Why? And one other point, this agreement that you all have made with the company about locals, about our local unions and our local workforce, this agreement, has anyone seen it? Have the business managers from our locals seen this in writing? Thank you.
All right, several questions there. All right, several questions there, and Lori, I'll try to get to them. Why the tax abatement, why not? And you're right, so Microsoft on Tuesday, as the first big tech leader, said, hey, we're not going to ask for tax abatements. And is that the major thing that Commissioner Smith alluded to that kind of changes our mind? I can tell you that it's made me rethink if all other big tech is going to follow, for sure. Then the other question is, do you still look at tax abatements to still incentivize, because that's what a tax abatement is, to still incentivize that they completely build out a campus? If I have a tax abatement versus no tax abatement, where am I going to build, regardless of what they say publicly? I understand. So we're I've already reached out to Jobs Ohio. I've already reached out to our legal counsel to see what ripple effect that announcement has had. So that is something we're looking at. In terms of spending time with the community, I don't disagree with the assessment. We've spent a lot of time under NDA trying to figure out what this thing is. Last week was the first time we could talk about it. And I think I talked about this last meeting. There was no requirement that we even said anything to the community.
That doesn't feel wrong to you?
No, that's why we said something to the community. As soon as we could talk about it, we announced it. So last Wednesday was the first time, because there was a public document being mailed out, that we notified the community. It's really probably before it even hit the mail, to allow for time to hear from everybody. So we're doing this today. I know we're in Green Township tonight at the Township Trustees meeting. Lori, I know you had some other stuff there.
Can I comment just real quick on the?
We'll get in. We'll try to make it as orderly as possible. So yeah, the Microsoft announcement is, it's an interesting wrinkle for sure.
And it could be that one big thing that we've been talking about. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, because we don't know what the follow-up to all that is. And I would take a little bit of issue with, we never spent 1 hour, because I did spend time with the township trustees, and I spent time with them at a meeting probably a month before this came out. And then I spent time with them a couple hours before this came out, trying to talk to them. Now, granted, that wasn't a public meeting in front of everyone, but your trustees and school knew that, you know, this thing was probably coming. That's why I went up and talked to them.
But
So-
you work for us, we pay your salaries.
Lori,
Yeah.
we'll try to be as calm as possible. Like, we get it. There's going to be a lot of emotions around this one way or the other. Good.
My name is Matt Hackney. I live on Tyler's Way, which is at the end of Brawlin Road behind the Holiday Point Marina. I don't have so much questions as I have just comments in my story.
Sure.
And I'm going to piggyback a little bit off her. You know, my frustrations initially were how the school board was notified before the public, you know, before me, before the people on my road, you know.
Yeah.
To me, this is a political issue. You know, John Q. Public doesn't really care what the school board's opinion is. The school board doesn't elect you all as commissioners. You know, we do, your constituents. You know, and as she was saying, you know, a letter in the mail, you know, take a little time, put a little more effort in, you know, maybe drive down some streets, you know, knock on some doors. Hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. You know, this is going to affect you. This is going to affect your life. You know, that's what's been frustrating.
Sure.
You know, I mean, we elect you. You know, you're to do the public's bidding, and I understand you're wanting to do what's good for. You're looking at the overall picture of what's good for Scioto County. Now, my personal belief, you know, I'm 52. I wasn't raised up with computers and things, so I could care less about AI. I don't care one bit. I don't care about the internet. I think we all agree if we did away with our phones, our lives would be much better. Not that I don't have a phone and I use it, but so it was frustrating that we didn't get that contact. You know, we weren't treated like we should be as constituents. You know, you go to the board. Nobody cares about what the school board's opinion is on a political issue, because this, in the end of it, it is a political issue. My personal story is, on the last meeting, you said, you know, that's an industrial area, and those people should have known when they bought it. I bought my land in 2004. You know, the only plants in Scioto County was the one on Haverhill. I think it's called, or used to be called, Sunoco,
Suncoke, and then there's Altivia out there. Yeah.
And then the Coke plant was built after I bought my land.
Yeah.
You know, that's all farmland. It's been farmland for years, years and years. I mean, look up and down the river any direction, it's residential. You know, there's houses decorate the Ohio River for miles and miles. Granted, there are plants and things like that. But in that area where I live, it's farmland. It's always been farmland. You know, so to label it as industrial, you know, I strongly disagree with. I built my house, my wife and I, with my own hands. I raised my 2 daughters there. I worked a full-time job at the federal prison in Inez, Kentucky. I lived in South Point in a little trailer. I drove to Inez, I drove to Franklin Furnace, and I put every nail, every screw in that house myself. So you can imagine the sentimental value I have in my home. You know, it's our dream home, it's our dream area. You know, we broke our backs, blood, sweat, and tears to have that home. And to push out 50-plus residents that you should be loyal to for maybe 50 jobs. And more than likely, those people getting those jobs won't even live in this area. You know, it's wrong to us. To say that, yeah, they'll, you know, I'm not in the union, but I've worked around construction. I know a little bit about it. Yeah, there'll be some local union guys there, but we all know the majority will be from outside. Maybe not side out of Ohio, but outside of Scioto County. That's the reality. You know, so to sit here and to wave the flag of the union that, you know, we're going to fill it with local union jobs, that's not reality. And I know it's not reality.
Yes, sir.
And just the lack of common sense of, we know what these data centers do to the soil, to the air quality, I don't mean like putting out like a plant, but just what they talk about the light and all that stuff. You know, there's so much detrimental. The cons are way heavier than the pros. But for me as an American citizen that has broke my back to build my own home and provide a place for my family and to raise my children, to be pushed out, and I know you're not pushing me out, but in the end, the company will do their best to try to. Whether it's to make my life so uncomfortable I don't want to be there, but to end, basically, it's just been very frustrating to me that, you know, you are here for me, but I haven't felt that.
Yes, I knew.
Understood.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I will say, Matt, I appreciate your comments. I'll say that's probably been for us, probably one of the more frustrating parts of the process, because what I still don't know is the true impact of Franklin Furnace. I mean, we can guess at it. Anytime you have 1,300 construction workers coming into an area, you can already guess it's a lot of heavy machinery, it's a lot of big deliveries. That's still a piece I don't truly understand and know. And I mean that, and I hear you when you say when you bought that property has always been agricultural. I think about 5 years ago it was almost a steel plant, $1 billion steel plant. I mean the state of Ohio has listed that site as a mega site for development. Doesn't make it any better for you guys. Truly, Franklin Furnace, I think the face of Franklin Furnace is drastically different, whether it's this or another major development. And that's truly, I was out driving the roads over the weekend to get a better lay of the land and where and how many people are directly on the road and those types of things. So I hear you, and I know you're frustrated, but I appreciate your comments.
Well, thank you. I'm Dr. Trevor Beal. I'm a professor of AI at Ohio University.
Great.
Now, I'm not representing OU, but I'm stating that because I think my background is relevant to the problem here. I'm also a concerned citizen. I'm a resident of Wheelersburg. I grew up in Green Township, and I'm an alumni of Green Local. And I have a lot of concerns about this, and a lot of that's based on my background. I still have family in Franklin Furnace as well. I've spent the last 20 years working in AI. I've worked as a professor, as a military researcher. I've worked for AI companies. I've run big to small, multi-million-dollar AI projects. I've used data centers in my work. I know what data centers do. I've worked with them. When I was Air Force, we had a data center in Maui. We never visited it because you phone into a data center. So I have many concerns. Now, employment is a big one. I'm familiar with how these work. Data centers are ghost towns. A lot of places are finding that out. We're told that the jobs will come if they build it. That's not usually what happens. Columbus, Jerome Township near the Columbus Zoo, put a 9-month moratorium on data centers back in September because they were having trouble and problems with them. and that's on WOSU News. Columbus is having buyer's regret in all their data centers. That's what the Business Insider said last year. And why? Wall Street Journal a year ago, February, said the jobs don't come. Now we're told that the local jobs for construction will come, but if I read the news, that we don't have a promise. We have an agreement that they will consider local jobs. New York Times last year said those local jobs don't come either because companies travel the country building these things. They finish a data center in South Carolina, they'll move here for 12 months, and then they'll leave. So our long-term benefit is very low. Now, what type of jobs will we get permanently? Some people are saying it's going to be high-tech jobs. I've worked with these. That's not true. The jobs at a data center are unskilled to low-skilled technical work. They're computer support. They plug computers in and they fix things. The high-tech jobs are back in Silicon Valley phoning into these places. Now, I'm all for good development. I mean, I would not have been able to move back here 5 years ago without the bypass. It would have been impossible with my old job. So I'm all for appropriate development in Green Township. Suncoke is a good example of that. They have about the same amount of land as this proposed data center. They have 2 acres of land roughly per employee. This will have 15 acres of land per employee. Just imagine yourself in a giant field, cornfield, and the next person is going to be another cornfield over. That's how sparsely employed these things are. We're not going to get a boom short-term or long-term from these. And many of those people will also be outside transplants who specialize working in data centers. Now, on the abatement, I've spent 20 years working in AI. I know what the going rate for an AI scientist is. I'm happy that my alma mater is getting a cash influx, but $500,000 a year is not much for AI. That's about what I would pay if I hired 2 brand new Stanford grads in Silicon Valley, if I count compensation and benefits. So we're selling our town for 2 Stanford people? This is a steal for them. It's a joke on us. Now, I'm all for good development, high-density development, something worthwhile. I'm in the high-tech world, but this, in my mind, is not that. And I say that not just as a resident, but as someone who's been in this area for 20 years.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Hello, everybody. My name's Patrick McDavid. I'm a lifelong resident of Green Township. 5 generations of McDavids have lived in Green Township. 4 generations have graduated from Green local schools. My background is primarily in construction. I dealt with construction industry for nearly 20 years. And I told some of the labor people or the union halls that, in my estimation, is the only positive aspect to this project is the construction work. And so for you guys, I appreciate that you're going to fight for that. Okay. That being said, I have a lot more concerns than I have, support for what they did. You guys are mentioning the tax abatement, and if anything I say is incorrect, please correct me. Okay. You're basically offering the 75% at 15 years through a community reinvestment area.
Yes.
Post-1994 community reinvestment area.
Correct.
What I did mention is I'm a housing market analyst. I've done that for a little over 5 years. I've actually done studies that garner support from our Department of Development for CRAs. So I understand the positive impacts that those can have. However, I feel like this one's been constructed simply to offer a tax abatement, period. I wasn't going to talk about Suncoke, but we've made it relevant today by discussing it. So as a citizen of Green Township, let me give you my opinion on Suncoke. As Trevor said, it brought in a lot of permanent jobs, and we're very appreciative of that. with 100% tax abatement. So let's back up just a second and ask, what do the Green Township residents think of Suncoke overall? It is one of the most polluting industries in the state of Ohio, along with Sunoco, which is called Altivia now. It's all owned by Altivia. Currently, those two plants kind of, one supplies steam to the other to operate their facility. Altivia gets steam from Suncoke. Here lately, I've been hearing that what's called Phase 1, which was the first construction project at Suncoke, is in the process of possibly being shut down, which is about 50 local jobs from what I understand. There's about 135 rough employees at Suncoke. We're about to lose 50 of those jobs. I don't know if you're aware of that.
We've heard.
Can anybody
we've
confirm
heard
that there's been
stories.
notice sent out to the labor or the union halls regarding that? The only thing that's holding that up right now, if you want to speak, but the only thing holding that back right now is the contract to Altivia for the steam. That's it. And as soon as they can figure out either how to get out of that contract, or Altivia is able to make, accommodations to supply their own steam and power, those jobs are gone. Now you're offering 50 jobs for the data center. That's best case scenario for the 500,000 square foot facility. As Trevor said, most of those are going to be remote jobs that have minimal job impact. And I guess my point to the Coke plant is we changed the landscape of Green Township for the Coke plant. It's not what we bargained for. Now you're asking us to trust that the data center is what you're making it out to be. And I don't mean that in any disrespect,
Understood.
but you're also going to be presented the most positive, cleanest facility that this anonymous company has. They're going to take you a tour of that facility. They're not going to take you to the troubled facilities. So I think most residents of Green Township would agree that we're skeptical of the promise of good industry coming in. As Trevor said, it's very few labor per acre. It's not high density like a manufacturing, warehousing, industries like that. And I would rather have our locals build those industries that are positive influences on the township with no tax abatement. Pay their fair share of taxes. One thing I will say about the CRA, and I don't want to beat it, numbers to death because that gets nerdy. That's what I do. Spreadsheets. So we're talking about CRAs. What is a CRA? It's a program offered through the Ohio Department of Development to spur economic and residential activity.
Yeah.
And I think you guys would agree that it's primarily residential based, although it has a major, portion that's economic, industrial, whatever. So let's talk about real quick the housing in Franklin Furnace. By the way, where is the CRA designated area?
It's essentially the Norfolk Southern property.
Okay, so we're talking about the CRA only encompassing the Norfolk and Virginia Holdings properties. It doesn't include much of any, if any. I think includes, and I'll go ahead. I've seen the map.
It's a little bit to the
It's
west.
over.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it'd be the south of the school.
Yeah.
The trailer park. A couple of streets there. But what does it exclude? Bronwyn Road. You guys went around it specifically, and you only included the area that's owned by the railroad. That's kind of an issue in my mind. That's selective to offer them the 75% of 15 years. That's the only way you can offer that, is that through that CRA.
Correct.
Okay. Housing stock in Franklin Furnace. Throw some numbers at you, because this is what we do.
Yep.
We analyze this and say, is the CRA worth it? And we have to make that case to the Department of Development. Green Township, houses built, and this is terms of share, okay, it's not numbers.
Yep.
Share houses built since 1990, 35.6%. Do you know where that ranks in the county in terms of townships?
I don't.
Sixth. It's the sixth newest inventory of housing. And we're offering an abatement to this company based on that CRA, which is partially supposed to spur residential development. Look back at the Coke plant. Where's the disinvestment in Franklin Furnace? It's that area you guys picked and showed blighted properties. Is that there's a big connection between that coke plant and that blight, and now you're adding another industry that's undesirable, and now the blight's gonna be that road, Bronwood Road. Some of the highest paying tax residents of Green Township. So there's an offset to that. Let's just for a point of comparison, pre-1970 housing, which is typically the housing that has the most housing conditions, the most issues. Green Township, 22% of our housing built pre-1970. That's the 16th lowest in Scioto County out of 18 townships, I'm pretty sure. You know what the county percentage is?
I don't.
51.7% is built before 1970. State of Ohio, any idea what that percentage is?
Oh, I'm sure it's drastically different.
Exactly 50%,
Yeah.
50. So Green Township's got 22%. We're talking in comparison to the county and the state at
Sure.
50%. Housing's not a problem there. Why are we offering a CRA? And the only other question I have about the CRA specifically, has that application been submitted to the state?
The CRA for that
For
area
that
specifically?
specific CRA,
Yes.
it has been submitted.
To designate that area as a CRA, yes.
Has it been approved?
I believe so. That was last year.
It was approved last year, but yet it's not on the State Department's
I'd have to
website
do-
as an active CRA.
I'd have to double check. We sent it last year. I'm looking at our clerk for that CRA area.
I don't remember
I'd have to
Could
double, I'd have to double
Could you please
check.
investigate
Yeah.
that and let me know? And after the meeting, I can give you my contact information.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Because I'm curious what the state thinks of this, because you've said they've invested money in that whole process to spur development.
Yep.
You know, I wonder if they know they're trading the millions of dollars that, however they've invested for 50 jobs at best.
Sure.
So, like I said, that's my main question is if it's been approved.
I'll get back to you that on Patrick.
Did you guys hire a third party, an independent firm to conduct the CRA like basically formulate the CRA, or was that done?
Yeah, so our
in-house?
outside counsel, no, our outside counsel is Ricker Graydon.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I won't say anything about that.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. And since we did talk about the Suncoast tax abatement, back then they were promising 67 jobs for 100% abatement, which was what it was in their document to
And
consider.
then, I acknowledge that, but I
Yeah.
think the trade-off environmentally has been much worse.
That's a different conversation for sure.
So I was-
Hi.
Hi, my name is Whitney Folsom. I have been a lifelong resident of Scioto County and have made the decision to stay rooted here because I love this community. I also want it to be known that I took PTO to be here, which I find to be an absolute disgrace, and should never be. And I feel like that's just an indication that you've forgotten who you actually serve. I have sat through and watched other members of the community compile valid personal concerns, ask well-researched questions that you couldn't answer, because everyone in this room has actually done more research within the last week than you were able to in a year. They've pleaded with you to speak to actual people who have already been suckered and have data centers as neighbors to get a fuller picture of the impacts we would feel. But what is abundantly clear is that you don't care. You think you know better, like you're here to spoon feed us the medicine that will make us all better, without reading the label. And that is just distasteful. So it's more of a rhetorical question, but I'm curious if you all sat together in a room and frantically came up with the frequently asked questions that you posted.
I'll
With
answer that
cherry
question.
picked.
No, I'll answer that question. That's actually provided by the company.
That's what I thought.
Somebody asked last week if we could post that, so we did.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't you. And assumed that it was something that they were ready to push out as soon as they were receiving pushback. You three do not act like commissioners. You act like eager lapdogs waiting for a pat on the back and a treat from this company.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you're not getting some kind of kickback from this, I hate to be the one to tell you, but someone else looked at you and thought you were suckers too. And I see also that you plan to attend the Green Township meeting later this evening to try and placate them and not provide any actual information due to the NDA. And I hope that they hand it to you tonight. That's all I got. And really, I would rather this time be allotted for you to listen than formulate responses, because I already know what that will be. So, thank you.
Thanks, Whitney.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Madison Hatney, and I live in Franklin Furnace, specifically on Brawlin Road. I'm 21 years old, and I go to Shawnee State. I love our community. I love where I live. And, you know, even after college, if I have to go get a career elsewhere, I would love to find my way back home, because this is what Scioto County is, home for me and many people. I'm here today not as a lobbyist and not as someone with money or power, but I'm here as a resident whose life, home, and memories are directly affected by this decision you are being asked to make. I want to be very clear about something from the start. I understand that you may not have the authority to stop this company from building the data center here, but you do have the authority to decide whether they deserve the pilot of $500,000 and a 75% tax abatement for 15 years. And that decision does matter. And it matters to real people, not corporations, not spreadsheets, not promises made behind closed doors, but families who already live here. Right now, many of us in Franklin Furnace feel like we've been shut out of the process entirely. We know that you all have signed an NDA, but while information is being withheld from residents, decisions are still moving forward. Decisions that could cost people their homes, their peace, and their way of life. From Portsmouth, this project may look like progress, but from Brawlin Road, Tyler's Way, Haverhill, Franklin Furnace, this project looks very different. This data center will be built on the road that I live on. The quietness, the stillness, the view of the Ohio River, the reason my family chose to live here, all of that will be stripped away. My parents worked 7 years to build our home, 7 years of hard work, sacrifice, and doing everything that they could to stay out of debt. I was a baby whenever they decided to build our home. They raised 2 kids in that home. That home holds laughter, love, arguments, tears, bad days, good days, and a lifetime of memories. And now, because a massive tech company wants cheap land and cheaper taxes, all of that is suddenly at risk. Yet no one in our leadership has decided to speak up for us. Residents here have chose Franklin Furnace. We chose Scioto County, and we chose to invest our hard-earned money back into this community by paying taxes year after year, because this is where we want to live. So I ask you, how is it fair to give a massive company a 75% tax break when the people who already love this town are struggling under high taxes? Data centers do not bring large numbers of long-term jobs to small towns. They do not replace what they destroy. And research shows that often they take far more from communities than what they give back. Yet you are being asked to reward this company with millions in tax saving, money that could go to schools, roads, emergency services, and the people that already live here. This feels like we're being thrown under the bus, like our lives, our home, and our voices matter less than corporate convenience. If this company is going to permanently change our landscape, our peace, and our property values, then the least that they can do is pay their fair share. Don't ask residents to sacrifice everything while a billion-dollar company sacrifices absolutely nothing. You may not be able to stop this project, but you can choose not to give away our community for free, because to this company, that is what you are doing. Please, stand up for the people who already call Franklin Furnace and Scioto County home. Make this company pay full taxes and make them give back what they owe. Because progress that comes at the expense of the people who built this company or built this community is not progress at all. Thank you.
Thank you. How are you, sir?
Good morning. It's hard to go after this. I understand where everybody's coming from. My name's Travis Puckett. I'm also a Scioto County resident. I come here today kind of on two fronts. One being a resident, we've heard all the concerns, all the things that are out there. I mean, I'm concerned. Just like everyone here, we're all from here. We've grown up here. I've got children here. The environmental impacts, I've done a lot of research from last week's meeting till now. I know a lot of the concerns people have was the water. I found out since then that they are using a closed loop system. For people that may not know the closed loop system, that yes, they're still going to extract water from the Ohio River. They're going to run that through their system multiple times. It's going to be treated coming in, it's treated going out. It's going to be cleaner going back into the river than what it is in the river now. So I understand that piece of it. The other part that we brought up last week was the utility prices. Anybody in here that's paid an electric bill in Southern Ohio, we all know those rates have went up. I do know, again, from all the data and the research I've looked at, if they don't build this project in Scioto County, let's say they pick Pickaway County, they pick Fayette County, they pick Brown County, our rates are still going to go up. I understand that. Whether it's here or it's there, they're not going down. Not a whole lot we can do about that. What you guys mentioned last week was this project was going to happen anyway. Doesn't matter. You said that if you go back to them and you pull the tax abatement, they're likely to say, we're going to go elsewhere, but there's another one in the wing waiting to jump on that property and build it and move forward. I understand that as well. It's a nice piece of property. I mean, it's, like you guys stated, for decades, we touted that as a place to build. Our hope was, like a lot of people said here, some manufacturing jobs. You know, that's what we would all like to see. The reality is, we don't have manufacturing. If we go off what we were told 15 years ago, they're making steel there right now. We all know that's not the case. Which brings me to the point that it looks like we're getting a data center no matter what we do. If we get a tax abatement, we're getting a data center. We pull the tax abatement, we're getting another data center. I know you guys spoke to the point last week that you said you had to sit down with these folks, you had to sign NDAs. I know a lot of people have issue with the NDAs. I know from my experience in the construction industry, there's a lot of projects that we're drawn into that we're part of on the front end, just to make sure that we have the manpower, the capabilities, and the skill sets to build those projects. We sign NDAs as well. I'm not here to argue that point. I know there's a lot of split opinions on that. The NDAs, they are what they are. I know you guys put it out there. As soon as you guys were able to put it out there, I appreciate it. But even at that, they come to you, that's private land. It's owned by the Virginia Holding Company, Norfolk and Southern, one and the same. They're going to do with that property what they see fit. Unfortunately, we can't stop it. The EPA, I know, with all the data centers throughout Ohio, and your numbers are pretty spot on. There's over 200 active data centers that are in operation today. That doesn't count the 22 buildings they're building in Jeffersonville. Doesn't count the ones you hear about in Brown County that's going to be coming. And the surrounding counties, they're coming. I know the importance of the data centers. It's kind of, I guess, put it in layman's terms, because I'm just a carpenter. So put in layman's terms, the race for these data centers is similar to getting on the moon. We know there's other countries around the world that's trying to lead the race in the AI industry. The other countries, They already had their infrastructure in place, they already had their grid in place. They didn't know what it was for, now they know what it was for. They were pre-planned, and it happened to be for AI. In the construction world right now, the AI push, what we're seeing across the state of Ohio, Columbus especially, I know that there's been articles sent out for the last 2 years that they're telling these data centers and a lot of these tech companies, we do not have the grid. The infrastructure is tapped out. They are looking other places to get it. The state of Virginia, that right now is the hotbed for data centers. I mean, we think we see a lot coming in our area. They are surrounded by data centers. With all that being said, one of the other concerns that I have as a citizen from Scioto County is the workforce. I know you guys said you've talked to them, you've sat down with them. I know in the state of Ohio right now, we've had members that have worked on the solar fields that surround Scioto and Adams County. There's solar fields in Ross County, Highland County. All of those had tax abatements. And they also have the pilot program, the payment in lieu of taxes. So they are paying for the land one way or another. I get all that. The other part of it is in the language for them to get their tax abatements to contribute to the pilot program, the payment in lieu of taxes, there's language that the state of Ohio has in place that they have to have domicile workforce. To guarantee we have domicile workforce, it's basically for the solar projects, they want 80% domicile workforce guaranteed from the state of Ohio. If that project completes and they go back and they check it, because it's our money that they're either going to get or they're not going to get. So at the end of those projects, they're calculating everybody from the first person that shows up to build the gate to the construction entrance to the guy taking the gate down when they're done, has to be 80% domicile workforce. My question is to you, and again, this is going off of what was told before.
Sure.
The data centers come there one way or another, whether it's this one, whether it's the next ones. You guys having a seat at the table, as you call it, and I'm glad that you do. My hope is that you're able to go back to them, talk to them, and I don't know where everything is with the negotiations back and forth and all that stuff, to have them insert domicile language. Because I know with the trades, that's kind of the clincher there. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not going to say that Scioto County residents are eager to trade land and taxes for jobs, but if we're going to be trading land and projects for jobs, we want to make sure that our folks, our residents of Scioto County are doing those jobs. So I guess and it's not so much a question, just an ask.
Yeah.
If there's any way to go back, put any type of domicile language, I know the other trades here, I'm going to say within a 60-mile radius between all crafts, you're looking at thousands of skilled workers that can build this. Last big project we did in that area was the school. I just asked for you guys to see if there's anything you can do to guarantee. And again, I understand where everybody else is coming from. I don't want to come up here and sound heartless, because I'm with them as well. So good luck.
Thanks, Trampus. Any other public comments? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lina Colley, and I'm president of Portsmouth Piketon Residents for Environmental Safety and Security. We have been in existence for 40 years now, and at no time have we been asked to come in to give you comments about the environment, about the cancers we have here in Scioto County and the surrounding counties. Pike County has the highest rate of cancer in the state of Ohio, and we are 107% over and above the national average. I gave you this paper for you to read,
Yes.
and I want to read a couple paragraphs. We are afraid that this data center is being used to bring in these small modular reactors at Piketon. And the new reactors will be based on the design of the EBR-2 operating from 1964 to 1994, with over 20 other fast reactors have been tested since the 50s, and all which have failed. And they want to put this in our community. It's more than just this data center. Before a single watt will be produced by these reactors, brand new infraction projects must be built to make the necessary fuel for these reactors, as they will be fueled with recycled spent fuel. Recycled spent fuel is what Piketon was doing for 70 years. They were reprocessing plutonium, neptunium, americia, Tech-99. All of these daughter products were being reprocessed at Piketon. This is the reason in 1999 the workers were compensated, because our organization came up with the plutonium documents that came from the company. They're compensating these workers. Why can't we find jobs that are safer for our community? I was born and raised in this community, and I love this community. And I want safer jobs, and if you have to give workers bad jobs, you better give them a hazardous pay, because our compensation bill stops in 1992. Any worker who gets sick after 1992 will not be compensated. And we've been here, like I said, for over 40 years. We have dedicated to try to educate the community what the A plant has already done to us. And I'm sorry that we haven't been able to work on Havard Hill and all the other ones. This has been a lifetime project. The county commissioners are very important to our community because they're the ones who help make the decision. The A plant gives grants to people like Sodai and them to push for DOE and DOD's jobs. Piketon is not just the Department of Energy site, it is a DOD site. They make nuclear weapons there. And the high-assay, low-enriched uranium has been running since October of 23. We don't deserve this in this community. And the reason I say your commissioners are important, we fought the waste cells at Piketon hard. The community didn't want it. People showed up at meetings. They went around us, and they went to your county commissioners, and the county commissioners gave them approval for 12 waste cells on site that is setting over the largest aquifer in the Midwest, and the bedrock is fractured underneath that site. This database is going to take a lot of water. We don't have any more water to give them. Our water is contaminated. We need public input and stop this back behind the door decisions. We can't live with these anymore. And this is on my webpage, find a copy if anybody wants to read it. But this is the big plan for the databases. No jobs. They'll bring people from out of town for these jobs, maybe 300. And they're going to ship this transuranics from every country and every state in the United States that don't want it. We had 24,000 depleted uranium sitting on site, and now they're talking about shipping them to Jonesboro, Tennessee. They've been sitting out there. We fought and fought not to bring them here, and they've been sitting out there for years, and they're giving off neutron exposures. God help us all. We have to stay on our commissioners. They got to do the right thing and make the right decisions for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Vina.
Morning.
Morning.
My name's Lynn Goodman.
Lynn?
I've been a citizen of Scioto County for over 25 years. And I don't have a lot to say other than I think that, first of all, I've got a bunch of friends who couldn't be here because they had to work. And the times that you hold these meetings are ridiculous. Second, you're going to give all these tax breaks, and we're talking about $1.5 million every year to a giant corporation. You know, let's give some more money to the billionaires so that they can continue to produce AI slop. Great. What a wonderful plan. And I don't hear very many people speaking in favor of this. I hope you're listening because your community doesn't want this tax abatement. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Joe Lucas. This is my first trip to Scioto County. I'm a lawyer in Dayton, Ohio, and I represent a couple of property owners about a mile down the road who are waterfront property owners. A lot of great things have been said, and I'm not going to touch on most of those topics, but there are two topics I want to talk about. One is cost. Whenever you spend money or you hope you're receiving something, it comes at a cost. And there are many costs that have been discussed, but one of the most basic costs is just infrastructure. When somebody comes in and they build something in your community, they're taking advantage of your infrastructure. Some places have a lot of infrastructure, and some places have very basic infrastructure that hasn't been built out. The most common piece of infrastructure is roads. You guys have roads, and whoever builds this data center, they're going to have to truck in a lot of concrete for a big pad, a lot of construction materials. They're going to have to truck in a lot of equipment and then truck it out. And they're going to be on semi-trucks. They're also going to have to truck in a lot of computer equipment. This has been described as a billion-dollar investment. And I'm sure that the company that is investing this money is going to spend $1 billion. But they're not going to spend $1 billion in Scioto County. They're going to build a building. Some of the work hopefully will be done by Scioto County residents, but much of it will be done by these roving data center construction companies. But they're also going to spend probably the greatest portion of that money on computer equipment. And that computer equipment is going to arrive in Long Beach, California from Taiwan. It's not built in America. And the people who have the good jobs building that stuff, they're not here, and they're not going to be here. It costs about $300,000 to repave 1 mile with 2 lanes of road. So the amount of truck activity that you're going to get, like semi-trucks, they're very heavy. They do cause a lot more wear and tear. It's like exponentially more wear and tear than a car. So you're going to see a lot of wear and tear on your roads. And the company isn't really going to reimburse you for that. So you have a loss there. It's a net loss. And that's socialized, that cost is socialized among all residents. The second thing I'd like to point out is I think there's a lot of pessimism or inevitability of the inevitability surrounding the construction of a data center. It's not inevitable that things get built and the projects get done. I'm a real estate lawyer. I was involved in a case with a $183 million development in Butler County, and the development was defeated. The developer had the biggest law firm in Cincinnati, 800 lawyers representing them, and the residents had one attorney, and we beat them, and it never got built. There are many, many cases where developments don't get built, and there's many pieces of litigation that can be filed, and things can be held up in court until all of you retire. So the inevitability of a data center is not 100%. And so the residents should keep in mind that what makes sense for the county, what makes sense for the future, sometimes requires some time to flesh out. And I think the amount of time that the county considers what to build and how to fund it and how much incentive to provide, that amount of time I think should be stretched out so that everyone can be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. One thing I do want to mention, because you brought up infrastructure, any infrastructure will be borne on the shoulders of the company, whether it's electrical, roads, wastewater, water. So that's actually borne on the back of the company.
Good morning. My name is Valerie, and I'm here again today to voice my opposition to this proposed tax incentive. But today's a little different. Instead of just my voice, I'm emboldened by the voices of almost 700 members of our community who have signed who have signed a petition that all agree that this proposed tax incentive is a bad idea for Scioto County. At the last meeting, a majority of the room came to voice our concerns and to allay our fears over the negative impact that this center would have on our community. Unfortunately, we left with very few answers and with a sense of confusion about who this company is and how they plan to operate within our county. What we did learn was that we're dealing with a Fortune 100 company. Fortune 100 companies like Meta, Amazon, and Google have revenues reported in 2025 of over $100 billion. My question, or not even a question, I'm not asking questions today. I'm here to say there should be no tax breaks for billionaires, especially when we ourselves are paying 1.5% higher property taxes than the national median. We want our community to thrive. We support our unions. We want jobs from our community, for our community, and ones that will create economic growth for the future. This is not it. With that said, I implore you, please listen to the voices of the people here today. Don't allow this company to enrich itself on the back of the collective. Vote no on this tax incentive. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Mr. Powell, my name is Anna Knapp. I'm actually a school board member in Green Township for the Green Local School District. But what I'm saying today is not a direct reflection of the school board because I obviously cannot speak for all of them. I am speaking as a citizen of Franklin Furnace. I didn't bring any numbers today. I didn't prepare anything because it's already been prepared. I mean, I don't need a paper to read off of. This is where I've lived. I've actually lived on the piece of property that was sold. My parents held out for almost 15 years before they sold that piece of property to Norfolk and Southern, and we didn't want to. We didn't want to move. We didn't want to go and build a new house. You know, we're still members of Green Township. My mom and dad both work at the school. Both of my siblings go to the school. And I'm not going to stand up here and bash you guys today because all three of you know just as well as I know that you're not going to be willing to listen to anything that I have to say if I stand up here and make backhanded compliments and say things to you guys that half of us probably don't even mean. But I will say that, you know, I work hard every week just like everybody else. I go to my job at the hospital. I don't speak for the hospital right now either. This is simply coming from my heart. But there are so many people in Scioto County, specifically Franklin Furnace, that work so hard week after week after week, overtime week, just like myself, that are just trying to make ends meet just to live. And, you know, a lot of people can't get government assistance, you know. I struggled to even get any FAFSA money at all because my parents worked too hard. I mean, I got $900. $900 is not going to cover maybe some books. I mean, it's ridiculous, which is besides the point, you know. Living on that piece of property, you know, I'm not against manufacturing and bringing new jobs into the township. That's not what I'm for. You know, I come from a union family. My grandpa and my great-grandpa were both members of 317 out of Huntington, you know, their entire lives, you know, their entire career. And it's something where, you know, I'm never against building something there, you know. Like, if I had to move out of there, if I had to move off of that piece of property, you know, if they wanna buy all that property up, that's on them. That's a private company, you know. If they wanna put something there, that's up to them. But I just don't think we should make it easier for a data center to come in and build on that piece of property and just completely overlook Franklin Furnace, because my entire life, you know, I'm gonna say something that a lot of people in this room are probably thinking, we've been overlooked. We're just an exit off of old 52, or off of 52. You know, people don't care about Franklin Furnace, and I do, and a lot of people do in the county. And, you know, a lot of people in Scioto County just see that piece of property as, oh, it's just Franklin Furnace. Like, I graduated with 38 kids. You know, we're one of the smallest schools in the county. I just graduated in 2023. I'm 21 years old. You know, I'm pretty fresh. So this is from the perspective of somebody who, I don't have a home. You know, I haven't bought a house yet. I don't have to pay taxes yet, but I'm going to have to. You know, that's something else. We're talking about infrastructure, okay? Well, you know, we were talking about roads and, well, where are these people gonna live? You know, if we are gonna bring people from out of town to work, you know, and build this thing, where are they gonna live at? Because I can only think of one place in Franklin Furnace in Green Township that's up for rent right now. Where are we gonna put all these people? You know, if we're gonna be realistic and honest with ourselves at the end of the day, like, all these people coming in, I have friends who work in the trades. And you know, sometimes they do go work in Jeffersonville and wherever else. You know, that's not an easy drive every day. You know, sometimes they have to stay up there. You want them to stay in hotels? We don't have any. We don't have anywhere to put these people. I mean, I just think that we're going way too fast with all this, and I just really want to urge you guys to push our vote back, because as somebody who's 21 years old, I mean, most people don't get married after 3 weeks. Like, that's not a decision you make in 3 weeks. Like, I mean, this is serious. Like, this is the future of our township. Like, this is more than a marriage. This is a huge decision. Like, I feel like more people need to be heard, and they haven't been. I've not heard a singular person from our township in support of this. And you know, maybe it's because some people aren't educated on data centers, or maybe it's because some people really aren't open to change, because I do know people that are my mom and dad's age that just don't like change. And I get that, and you've probably seen a lot of that, you know. A lot of people that aren't open to new jobs, new manufacturing, new companies, new buildings. And I get that, and that's just how that generation was raised. You know, and I'd like to think that I was partially raised like that just because my mom and dad do think like that. But I have been in school for quite a while, and I'm pretty open to change, you know. Like Maddie said earlier, you know, I might have to move somewhere, you know, to get a job, but I always want to come back here. Like, this is where I was raised. My mom and dad, well, my mom is from Kentucky, but my dad was raised here. My dad's entire family was raised here. My grandma, she was a kindergarten teacher at the school. My great-grandparents lived in the township. My great-great-grandparents lived on that same piece of property that my parents had to sell. And like, moving at 18 years old, like, nobody talks about that. And the prices of building a home during COVID, well, you're gonna see that. I mean, you're gonna see that in electric prices, and I know that we can talk all day about how if this comes to one of the local counties, it's all of our rates on everything are still gonna go up. But like, that's not the point. Like, the point is they're looking at this piece of property because other places didn't want this either. You know, they're looking at Appalachia right now because other places didn't want this, and their constituents were brave enough to stand up and say no. And, you know, we can stand up here all day and talk about, you know, we need to think about our decisions and, you know, how we're going to vote on this matter. And you guys have already said that if you were to vote last week, that you would vote yes, this is amazing, but it's not. And, you know, you can do research on any project and find, you know, good things and support, you know. I've been a student for a really long time. I went to Shawnee State University, and now I go over to college, and I'm in the nursing program. You know, I've wrote my fair share of papers. You know, whenever you have a stance on something, you're going to find, you know, peer-reviewed articles in support of your stance. You can find information like to support any kind of claim that you have in 2026. But I think that right now it's about listening to the people of Franklin Furnace. I know that you guys are going to be at the trustees meeting later. Yeah. So I just urge that you just do what's right, because I've always been taught to stand up for what I believe in. So you're not going to see a lot of 21-year-old girls walk into this room right now and stand up here and speak. So I just really urge you to think about what you're doing and potentially moving back the vote so that you can hear what a lot of other people have to say.
All right. Thank you very
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Quentin Sharp. I'm a local contractor and fifth-generation native to Scioto County. Now, I'd like to talk, like everyone, about the environment and many other things on this, but that's been said, so I'll defer to something else. Commissioner, you said you were a numbers man. I consider myself the same, so for the last week I've looked into some things. For the 75% proposed tax abatement, most of these companies will accept 50%. At 15 years, most will accept 5 or 10. Now, that one really concerns me, because the way these companies work, after about 5 to 10 years, their processes become obsolete. They go under, they pack up, they move out. 15 years, it's far too much. To their water treatment, they've said 500 million gallons of water a day used for their facility. These companies like to withhold the information they give out to the people that they want to build their land on. That only accounts for cooling their processors. It has not taken into account cooling off the power plant, nor the facility for the water treatment. If you look at all three of those combined, you're going to see they use about 90% of the daily average of our county before agriculture. So I would like everyone to just look into the numbers, not that the company gave you. Find some of the other towns, Arkansas, Missouri, Oregon, places like Scioto that have been taken advantage of. Because this is, at the end of the day, an extraction industry. They're not here for coal, they're not here for oil, they're here for groundwater, something they've already used up in the West, Nevada, California. Sauk Dry, the Colorado River, has seen an 80% decrease in its intake of water over the last 15 years because of data centers. So please just rethink this. This is not for the benefit of Scioto County, it's to our detriment. So if they're going to say that within 3 weeks, if we can't make up our minds, they'll go, I say we let them. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Becky O'Connor, and I really wasn't going to get up here today. I think I said enough last week, but since Scotty, you mentioned that the data center would go ahead and pay for the road construction after they ruin our roads, basically in not those words, but so how are we going to prove to them that they ruined our roads instead of other truck drivers? You know, have they said how much money they're going to pay to us to fix our roads?
No, so we're not that far. Actually, this board's not even involved in any of the infrastructure conversations. We just know if there's public infrastructure, they're paying for it. So it's not even to that point where that's been shared with us yet.
Don't you think that's wrong, that you should vote on something and be married to this 3-week agreement? You know, I mean, we've had 3 weeks and you don't have all the information. Do you think it's right for you to vote on this to be a go?
I understand your concern.
Okay, another concern I have is that Ohio, for the data centers, they have already allocated a sales tax, not just property, we're not going to property tax, we're going to sales tax relief. So they're a lot of their chips and things like that they have to buy, they won't have to pay taxes on. Also, you and I, when we go to Lowe's, we have to pay sales tax. You know, I bought a lot of lumber at Lowe's to work on my house. Maybe I haven't built my houses like other people have, worked hard on their houses, but I've done a lot of work on both of our houses. And I have to pay my sales tax, and I think they should too. And I don't think they should be getting away with that. And I don't think we should be doing things to encourage them to even have a sales tax relief. Anyway, and I'm feeling that, you know, you've given, 3 weeks, and you say that you wouldn't change your mind. I guess my point is, Beckley, you said that you wouldn't change, that to this point anyway, that you wouldn't change your mind unless there was something major. I don't know, but to me, I feel like all you people here and all the people that have made comments on the internet about this, I think we're something major, that you should think about that. We're people, God loves us very much, and you should respect us. And, you know, you have these meetings at 9:30 in the morning when people are working and have to take off work to get here. A lot of people can't because they're working paycheck to paycheck. And they've got 2 or 3 jobs that they've got, and they can't come to a meeting at this time. If you really loved us, you would be thinking about us in that respect and have talked to the people. And not just go to the school board first. I have here something that I looked up on the internet. It says that commissioners have a myriad of responsibilities that include making decisions to make a county a better place to live and work. Well, I'd like to have a better place to live and work. And the data center is not gonna make a better place for me to live and work. It's gonna be a worse place for me to live and work. And I don't care how much money we're getting. I really don't. We can do without less money, but you know what? We have nothing if we don't have our health.
Thanks, Becky.
Hello, my name is Whit Bales. I am the referral agent at IBW 575, the electricians local here in town. I handle all the manpower that comes through, and I send everyone out to work. In the last 2.5 years, I have sent out 4,500 people to job sites throughout our jurisdiction, most being over an hour and a half away. Out of that 4,500 people, 250 were sent out here in Scioto County. 2.5 years, 250 jobs out of 4,500. I know a lot of folks here are concerned on the jobs after the construction is built. I personally attest that 50 permanent jobs is the bare minimum of what to expect. Recently we've had meetings with some of the contractors in our jurisdiction that are building data centers. The analogy that was used to us was how many people sitting at this table have a laptop that they've bought in the last 5 years, that they've already came out with 2 or 3 new models. That's exactly how a data center is. So I worked up at the Facebook in New Albany in 2019. Currently, they're redoing it for the 3rd time with hundreds of electricians still there with no labs. So to say 50 jobs permanent after this, it's just not true. I mean, the trades are going to benefit from this heavily. There's a lot of concerns, I understand that. But that for the greater good, so to speak, this is going to be an excellent chance for our community to let the rest of the world know that we are here to play ball, and our kids will have a chance to stay. So, the jobs will come. This will be the spark of something wonderful for our community. It's going to be a wonderful thing, and I'm here for it. Also, I'd like to tell everybody that we are hiring down at our home. So that's not the only project coming. So, but that's the only significant project in Scioto County. So with that, I'm done, but thank you.
Thanks, Whit. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. Bobby Cole, represent the plumbers and pipe fitters here in Portsmouth, Ohio, and represent All Crafts as the president of Ohio State Building Trades. It's kind of tough to be in the minority here this morning, but I also stand and support this project. The commissioners before you and the Port Authority before you and things, we've worked for years to try to get some development in at that particular piece of property. We had dreams of a steel mill coming. It would have been great if the steel mill would have came. Would have took 4 or 5 years to build a steel mill. 300 or 400 people worked there. If I understood what you said earlier, Scotty, today, we're looking at a 900-acre site. We're looking at a $1 billion project for a small, very, very small portion of that site, maybe 50, 60 acres of that site. So, to what he said about the Googles and the Facebooks and Columbus, that they just keep building them and redoing them, building them and redoing them. So we could be potentially looking at a 10 to 15-year project here with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, if you look at the $1 billion project, you're looking at over $100 million in wages brought into our community. And yeah, some of that money is going to go back with travelers, but they're all going to be working through here, and the local unions and the local union members are still going to benefit from those travelers being there. So we're potentially looking at years and years worth of really good solid work where our guys can work at home, and like he said, we're hiring. We can bring young people into the trades, and they can be very successful and make a good living and pay into their pension and health and welfare. So like I said, in the minority, but I still strongly support this project and strongly support you guys moving forward with the tax abatement.
All right. Thank you, Bobby.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is John Holbrook, and I am the business manager for the Tri-State Building and Construction Trades Council, representing 14 different internationals that would potentially, locals that send members to the job site. And you've heard what these guys have said, and again, it's tough to be in the minority, but I also have heard the community, and by all means, I have, so much respect for you all and your concerns. I'm not sure there would be a lot of different sentiment if it was the steel mill or if it was another entity coming to that site. I'm not sure that, we don't like change, and obviously if somebody built something in my backyard, I wouldn't be probably that happy about it. But I'm here in support, even though I'm in the minority, like Bobby said. But I wanted to speak to a couple things that were said about the contractors that travel in, build data centers or big projects and leave. And, none of that money stays or the people aren't local workers. Well, that is the case if you don't have signatory to our local unions, union contractors that are signatory to our collective bargaining agreements or national agreement. They can do that. But if they are signatory contractors, which you have some good faith promise, there's no real contract, but we're going to work our side of that as well once we know the owner, developer, and some of the EPCs. But these local unions, the Scioto County residents that are members of these locals, they will have first option. They are members of these locals. They will fill up that project first, and then they might reach out. My council, it covers 3 states. It's 5 counties in West Virginia, 17 counties in Kentucky, and 10 in South Central Ohio up through Ross. And we share resources across this river, and some of these members that are members of 575, they live in Kentucky, they live in Greenock County, they live in, Lewis County, they live in Cabell County, West Virginia possibly. I mean, we do share resources. It is a kind of a community area, a tri-state area, but I'm just saying, if we can make sure this job is a union job, it will be Scioto County members first. They'll get first refusal. And like Bobby Ann has said, it's so much bigger than the 50 jobs, because with local opportunities, these locals grow, and they are career opportunities. These unions are, these locals that are taking in apprentices. They're long-term jobs. They have health care, they have benefits. We offer safe and good work conditions. So it's bigger than just the 50 jobs, but with the 50 jobs, that's phase 1. Let's say there's 5 phases. There's 250 jobs, and then growth with the tax, and what you say. And one other thing, the 15 years, I mean, that is a short time in the business world. You was talking about Sun Coke, and 100%, what was that, 23 years ago? Or I'm trying to remember the exact dates.
Something like that, yeah.
And then last, and I'll close with this, I know so many people have a real heartburn with non-disclosure agreements, and it seems sneaky. I mean, from folks that haven't worked in chambers or economic development authorities, or on some kind of a alliances. I've been a part of the Ashland Alliance, and any project that is funded that has some of their own money or all their own money that I've been, associated with, they are non-disclosure. They have everybody sign non-disclosures. When you have somebody come with disclosing everything immediately, in my experience, Brady Aluminum, we chased that for 4 years on the Ashland side over in Boyd County. We all had hopes. They were starting programs at the technical school. They were trying to raise money. The steel mill, Russian steel mill. I know that the council that I'm fortunate to be the business manager of now, I think we give upwards of $50,000 just in, research and continued, growth, and trying to help them to get the project funded. And I mean, the non-disclosure, I know you are catching a lot of flack about that, but that's just part of doing business. That's the way you have to do it. So, you know, if that helps any for you all. But I do appreciate you all, I appreciate your time, and I totally respect the community and the people that live here. But I work for roughly 25,000 people that get up, put on a hard hat, and go to work every day. And they drive all over this river and up and down the 3 states, and it would be a great opportunity for them and a lot of the other youth that don't have careers. And I know this is a depressed area, so to speak. There's a lot of drug use. There's a lot of, you know, we have a lot of problems. And with opportunities, a lot of those problems do tend to go away. So I stand in support again. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Question. I'm sorry, I forgot. With all this going on, I was wondering if you could answer how much money that the county has spent on lawyers and all the kinds of things related to this proposal for the data center.
Yeah, we can get that number.
Can you give me a ballpark up here?
I don't have it off the top.
Lawyers seems to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head, so I wouldn't want
So when can we expect that number?
to. We can get it, and if you're at the next meeting, I'll have it for you. Or if you're
That
not,
decision will have already been made, right? People won't know.
yeah, we've already spent the money, so it's,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll be able to get it for you. It's
Yeah.
a public record. Yeah, we can
Just
do that,
feeling
sure.
like, you know, a lot of money was spent on this without thinking of the people
Sure.
first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy, y'all.
Hi.
My name is Logan.
Logan.
Buster, and I'm a resident of Franklin Furnace. I live there with my wife and my 3 boys. Been there about a year now. But I'll make this short, frank. But I don't think you've done a great job at convincing the residents that the pros outweigh the cons. And I think that's probably your biggest hurdle. Like, I mean, there's some sentiment, like if it's a different business or something, we might not feel the same. But I think I'm not against economic growth. I just don't think this data center is what any of us want. That's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan.
Morning, gentlemen. My first recommendation is that we maybe hold these meetings at a better time so more people have the opportunity to attend and address their constituents and the people that are supposed to represent them. My name is Dakota G. I got some roots in this town. If you knew Donald G, he was the chief of the FD in Portsmouth for a while. My uncle Sean followed him. So we've been in this community for a while. We've been inside burning buildings. We take care of our own. We're all 3 veterans. I decided to come back here after being a Marine because I didn't think this place was as hopeless as everybody seems to be selling it to us as. And I want you to know something. We can argue ethics and morality and economics, and these are all important, but at the end of the day, Mark Zuckerberg settled his Cambridge Analytica scandal for over $8 billion in court, and that was pocket change. It was a quick little joke when he got caught with his pants down, he threw money at it and it went away. Now, the company that we're dealing with here, I actually don't know who they represent. I would be curious with your NDA. Are you allowed to tell us who the parent company is? Because it's your shell company. It's called Tilted Gate LLC, and that was only started 4 months ago. So we're looking at a 4-month-old company, a shell company, probably of Meta, since we're hearing some Facebook representation here, if I had to assume. So I'm just curious. We're talking 75% over 15 years. That's a good stretch in this community. It's also a lot of money. So why are we so comfortable settling and getting taken advantage of? Like, think about the pill mills that popped up here and how they ravaged our community. They came to our rescue and they really helped us out, right? Now they left us behind, and then we got that little check, $1 billion or whatever it was a couple of years back, and half of that disappeared immediately into slush funds, and the other half went into a few rehab centers. One of which I painted and then got done there in Franklin Furnace. You want to talk about investing in your community? You talk about cleaning up your own community when a corporation leaves you behind in the mud, like they tend to, because that's what they think about Malaysia, and most of us know that. You addressed it to begin with. like this was some kind of gold nugget that had come down and was some beautiful opportunity for us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but that's not the case. Quite simply, they are taking advantage of us. They think us inferior. We have abundant natural resources here, so they want our water, they want our cheap land, because they can't get it in the cities anymore, because it's already been bought up and they've already built, and they know this is a continual feedback cycle. If you haven't followed OpenAI, if you haven't followed Sam Altman, there is no real money to be made here. This is a giant bubble that we are waiting to burst. They are giving billions to NVIDIA. NVIDIA creating the graphics cards, which are now taking over all the consumption of the computers, so you won't be able to build your own computer soon. Loops right back into this company. They build the data center, take that money, and they're just basically handing the same check back and forth. You know who gets left behind when that bubble finally pops? It's people like us with data centers in our community that stole our water, poisoned our soil, created, you know, some of you live closer than I do. I live in Wheelersburg. There's going to be bright lights on 24 hours a day. They're never going to turn off. There's going to be a ghost crew there, like the doctor mentioned. You're going to have a handful of people operating it on any given day. Yeah, the laborers like me, painters and carpenters and such, we'll get in there early. We'll get our work in. We'll be happy. We'll go home. But once that data center is up and ready, not only will they be trying to screw us every year over year, maybe trying to adjust this number to make it even worse on our behalf, but we're already giving them a pretty damn generous offer, if you ask me. So much so generous, I would say, that it's borderline selfless. I mean, opportunity and cost are two considerations, but when you're bringing them up next to each other and you're talking about people's health, we keep saying it's an opportunity for our kids. If our kids are all getting cancer because we built a data center right outside of their home, what kind of life and what kind of dream are we selling? You know what I mean? So, again, I would appreciate a better opportunity, time slot wise, to have our needs addressed. I know you haven't felt the urge to address all of them. I'm sure you get bored listening to 15 people talk in a row, and it's your job, but you know, morality and ethics, we're going into a new age. We all understand that. But this AI thing, I promise you, is a bubble. As somebody who grew up on this stuff and has to help my grandparents and has to help my mom, we all know my generation, the millennial generation, is going to carry the burden of this, and then we're going to pass nothing but sickness on to our kids when this thing picks up and leaves. So, just something to consider. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for taking.
I just have two pretty simple questions that I forgot to ask earlier.
Sure.
So we're doing the 75%. Why didn't you guys go higher than that?
Why didn't we go higher?
Yeah, why
than,
didn't you do the 100% for like Scioto?
That wasn't the initial ask. The initial ask was a flat 75%.
Do you
So,
know why they asked for 75% by chance?
I don't know why they did. They asked for 75%, and we negotiated down to, with the pilot, 50%.
Because you guys couldn't approve over 75%. We would have to go to our school and ask for permission to go over 75%. So I think it's odd that they picked 75%, because that's the maximum that you guys as a board could go to without the school's approval. Just throwing that out there.
Yep.
And the other question is, because, you know, I have concerns with the Coke plant shutting down and the jobs we're gonna lose, and then what we're left holding, which will be similar to New Boston.
Yeah.
Have they offered to start or fund a decommissioning fund for this project?
For this specific project?
For this specific project, is there a decommissioning fund, should they decide in 10 years that it's more economical for them to move to another area?
No, not that I'm aware of.
That's something we should have guaranteed too.
Yeah.
I don't know the situation with the Coke plant. I'm sure there's a decommissioning fund for an industry like that. But I guess my point is,
I'd have to check their CRA as well.
Right, but if we wanted to take that back to usable land for a different industry, we've got to tear that building down. It's not really useful for much other than what that is. That's another guarantee I'd like to hear from them, is that they would put a certain set amount into the decommissioning fund to clean that campus back up and start it.
Understood.
That's all
Thank
I
you. Any other public comment? Go ahead, Todd. These people, they want to hear about the trout derby too.
Well, I'll give you guys, about disabled vets, disabled kids for the trout derby. You guys have not, been able to get a hold of Governor DeWine yet.
There's been no answer from the governor's office.
Every time I called Tammy Puff, I've called all the liaisons.
Yeah.
They refuse to help us with the fish still. I mean, it's bullshit, but, excuse my language, but the disabled vets and disabled kids in this town get crapped on every time. This is a DD program. We're right there at the pad right there. We need 1,700 fish to start out with for the trout derby for the disabled kids and vets. And Governor DeWine will not answer our calls and stuff. So I'm just trying to keep up with you guys, show you guys that the DD program's ready to do they've got their flyers out and stuff. But, with the trout derby the way it is, everything else is just ODNR. We've got the nets. ODNR down the lake's got all their stuff straightened up. It's just getting the fish this year. I mean, last year we paid half, you remember that? We paid half because ODNR said disabled kids and vets didn't deserve them again. And, it's just, this town gets crapped on every time we do something. And with the kids and the vets, I mean, we did over 900 kids and vets last year. We need to know for a fact that, why Governor DeWine will not reach out to us. I don't know why. I mean, he used to. I can call up, have the disabled kids and vets go up and see him and stuff. But now they will not let us on the property pretty much. So you guys got any answers of what we can do to?
At this point, we're reaching out through the same channels you are, Todd. So
I just keep,
and I don't know the answers either.
I don't like being told.
I understand.
Not answered.
I understand.
More or less, because the vets deserve to get the fish.
Yep.
When they can tell you the vets don't deserve to get the fish because they're not paying for fishing licenses and stuff, that's bull.
Yeah.
I mean, with ODNR saying that the DD program, kids don't get to fish, that's wrong again. So, just let me know, keep me in contact with what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Because we need to fish. I've got everything else. Bruce Mitchell coming from Swamp People will be here again. And, we've got all that stuff handled. It's just, we got to raise money for more poles.
Fish
But
or
thank you.
cut bait.
Huh?
Fish or cut bait. Yeah, that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, we've got to have fish. And, I mean, the Vernon Wright kids are all excited about coming again. And, that was the biggest turnout that they'd ever fished.
Yeah.
Was last year. They'd never fished that many, so just let me know what's going on.
Todd, we appreciate your
Thanks,
efforts
Todd.
there.
We'll donate $2,000 to your fishing tournament.
I appreciate it.
Hey, there we go.
Very good.
And just so you're aware, not that it has anything to do with why you're here, Todd Dunn and his team does a fantastic job throughout the county. So a lot of people know the trout derby up at the bigger lake. Todd actually does something specific just for disabled vets and children, where they do a different trout derby. And it is a fantastic event where they, like he said, service 900 disabled kids and vets, and we appreciate your hard work. They also do a no-kill deer hunts for terminal children. So they get a chance to feel what it's like to kill a deer, but not really kill it. You tranquilize it. And then they do pheasant hunts too. So Todd, we appreciate all your effort in the community.
And Todd is very passionate about what he's doing.
I think we're done with our public comment at this point. Everybody is leaving. We're still in a meeting, but that's fine. Any parting comments, Commissioner Mall?
I appreciate everybody's opinion and comments, and thank you, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Commissioner Smith.
I echo what Commissioner Malt said, is we would like to thank everyone for coming. And it's not, I know it sounds like or feels like that there's just falling on deaf ears. That's not the case. We are listening, but someone had said earlier that they felt like they'd done more research in the last few weeks than we've done the last year. That's not necessarily true. We've done a lot of research. And so it's not falling on deaf ears. We're just trying.
Why, if you've done so much of your own research, why do we get such robotic answers from your Facebook about, you know, you said at the last meeting, we didn't answer all the questions, and they gave us something from that company, like, that's not gonna help us, that doesn't show, say, your research shows that.
Well, a lot of the research and the things we've done are still covered under the NDA. And I know you don't want to hear that, but it's still there. And so, you know, we're not trying to hide anything, but there's things that we've agreed not to talk about. And so we can't talk about those things. But anyway, I just wanted to make that statement and thank everyone for coming out, and hopefully we can come to a good conclusion on this thing.
All right, thank you for that. I don't know that there's much more I can add other than thank you for showing up. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for being civil. I know there's a lot of emotion. And our format here could go a little sideways just because we do allow back and forth. But thank you for sharing your insight. And as Commissioner Smith said, it's not falling on deaf ears. Probably the part I hate about this the most is the timeline and the NDA and how soon we were even permitted to talk about it legally. Doesn't make you feel any better. I completely recognize that, but we will be at Green Township tonight. That is their meeting, so however they feel free to conduct their own meeting, but we will be there.
Will you be answering questions there or just stay to listen?
It's their meeting. I don't know what they want to permit or not. So we'll be guests tonight as well. So. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Maltz? Mr. Powell?
Aye. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks,